Hello everybody, Chris here, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Central Illinois. And today I just wanted to share this cool card I created featuring the All Aflutter Stamp set. It really doesn't feature the punch. Obviously I have the punch because I am a punch girl, but anyway, so I really kind of wanted to show this. We're gonna kind of create a little bit of a watercolor background and backdrop, stamp the images, and then we're going to play a little bit with the white gel pen. I was just really happy with how this turned out. Full disclosure, I was just kind of playing around and stamped some things and said, what if I use this? And I really liked how it turned out, so I wanted to share it with everybody. So just to kind of go through what some of the pieces are, once again, I'm using the All Aflutter stamp set. You are going to need a standard card base. So I chose Azure Afternoon because it matches and coordinates with the colors that I'm using. Whatever color inks you use for your watercolor paper, you just want something that's kind of coordinating. So that's the first layer, or the first part of the card. The second part is I layered it with a piece of Secret C. So it would really kind of offset and bring everything out and kind of pop everything up. So I'm going to set these off to the side for a minute. The next layer is your watercolor cardstock. So you're going to need a piece of watercolor cardstock that's 3 3/4 by 5. While you're cutting and getting everything ready, you can go ahead and cut just a basic white card insert to the same size, because we'll be playing with that for the inside, but the main part is going to be the watercolor part. I also chose 2 circles, the 1 7/8 in basic white, and then the Secret C in the 2-inch circle. So those are just for my sentiments. So I have those all ready to go, and I'll try and pull those numbers out. I'm also going to be using my Stampin' Up! New white gel pen. So far, I am super impressed. I have spent a good portion of my 20+ years crafting. Well, not all those have been with Stampin' Up!, but I have been on the ever elusive hunt for a great white gel pen that works. And shall I say works every time I go to use it. I've had a lot of problems with white gel pens over the years where I use them once and then I put them in the drawer, bring them out a couple days later, a week or so later, and then they don't work. And so far I'm very impressed, and I'm kind of waiting to see how long this one will work. It almost seems too good to be true. I did like it so well. I have a husband that does a lot of art and drawing, and he's also been searching for a white gel pen. So I bought him a set to throw in his art supplies as well. So we'll play with that. And then I also just added the Secret C sheer ribbon that was actually part of the Nature Symphony suite, but I just thought it created a nice little accent on here. Obviously, if you prefer some other sentiment or you don't use ribbon, then that's fine, but those are the items that I did. So the first thing we have is we have a piece of 3 by 3/4 by 5 piece of watercolor paper. Now you can leave your watercolor paper full size and cut it down later. For ease, I did want to just go ahead and have it pre-cut. We probably won't wait for it to dry, so I have another example that is dry that we will use, just because you are going to want to let it dry in between times. But I wanted to show you how I can do this. Now, if you have the Stampin' Up! Glass board, you can apply your ink directly to the glass board and then just spritz the water. But I kind of wanted to show you another way that you could do it if you don't have a glass board, that makes it just super simple and an easy way to do that. So I'm going to kind of put our example over here. And for that, I am going to use my F black, and you can see that it is bigger than my piece of cardstock, so that is going to help, okay, or my piece of watercolor paper. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to open my ink pads, and I'm just going to lay a little bit of ink on the black. So that was Azure Afternoon. I'm going to add a little bit of Blueberry Bushel. Now, if you don't want to apply your ink pads like this, or you want more controlled, you can definitely use your ink refills. I have just found this is super simple, and I don't have to worry about reaching for my ink pads. I probably should have done the lighter color first, which is one of the perfect things about this. And so I am actually going to kind of clean this off a little bit, just so I can start with my, and not ruin my ink pads by, and it's not ruining them, but would end up with a bunch of different colors. So I'm starting with Balmy Blue. See, this is what happens when you start off and you just want to get going. So Balmy Blue, that's going to just lay a really nice light color on there. And then I'm going to go to Azure Afternoon because it's the next shade darker. And you can see it's just kind of creating some background techniques. And then I'm going to come in with my Blueberry Bushel and add the Blueberry Bushel. And right now it just kind of looks like a hot mess. But then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take my Stampin' Spritzer. And I'm going to move a few things off because this will spread and spray water all over this, because I want those inks to kind of blend. And you can see it looks really pretty as it is. And this is a great technique. You can make multiple copies of what you've got going on at the same time. So if you wanted to, I'm actually grabbing an extra piece of watercolor paper as we're talking, because I have a feeling I'm going to have plenty of ink. So I just grabbed a piece of Stampin' Up watercolor paper. And so what I'm going to do is, because I have quite a bit, I'm taking the big one and we may have to cut it down, but I just kind of want to show you. And all you're going to do is you're going to lay your paper on the ink and kind of squish it around. How's that for an official term? Squish. And you can then kind of let things drip or flow whichever way you want. And then the other thing you can do to kind of spread it around a little bit more is you can take your spritzer and actually spray the cardstock, and that will then allow the inks, and I'm just letting them drip right back on my images here, because as the water moves around, the less ink will give you less color, or a nice light color. So I have plenty of ink left, so I'm just going to go ahead and do another one on here. Now, if you have figured out a way to do this without getting inky fingers, please let me know. But I kind of enjoy that process of getting inky fingers. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lay this in the darker parts. And cool things, you can leave your fingerprints on here. It just kind of makes it look splotchy. So when it dries, it gives you a totally different texture. So that's how you create your watercolor background. You do need to set these off to dry, like I said, because they will not, this next step won't work unless your paper is dry. You can use your, I'm trying to find a dry spot in my room to let them dry. So we'll just let them dry. Like I said, I already have some that are dry, so we don't need to wait, because we would be waiting for a little while. Very easy to clean up. You can just take your black, wipe it off either with your chamois or a baby wipe. It does not hurt your blocks in any way, shape, or form, but it's just a nice, quick way to do that. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Pick up my things, kind of clean up the ink off my mat. Brand new mat, and I just got ink all over it, but that's what they're for. Something to give you a background and not have to worry about stuff. I'm grabbing another baby wipe. I apologize, as I just to give you a great cleanup. I'm going to set that off to the side. Pull out just another piece for stamping. So now what we're going to do, we're going to pretend that that's our sheet. This one was already done, all similar colors. You can add pool party, you can add whatever colors you want. You can do this in reds and yellows, and then actually take this watercolor background, and you can use your punches and punch out things, make butterflies or whatever you want to. I like to stamp over my backgrounds. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull out my All Aflutter on this dry one. And I basically have my Memento ink. I did put it on the foam pad just to kind of give me a little bit of a juicier pad at the time. So we'll go ahead. Once again, this was cut to 3 3/4 by 5. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink this up. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp my butterflies randomly over the background and not drop it. But if you do, like I just did, I'm going to go ahead and add one there to cover up the fact that I kind of bounced and jumped. And all you're doing is you're just creating a whole flock of butterflies flying around on the background. And that is simply all you have to do. Wait for that ink to dry a few seconds. So while we do that, we'll go ahead and we'll stamp our inside and our sentiment. I do want to show you that you can do multiple colors on the background. You don't have to just do black. So I was starting on another card, and in this one I created it as a water seam and used the Thoughtful Octopus stamp and die, and I thought it just created a really cute seam, but that is for another day. So while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp. Is anybody else having terrible allergies this year? As I'm sitting here talking, my ears are popping because I have so much sinus problems. So I'm going to switch and go to the inside of my card because I still have this outline of the butterflies out. And once again, this is my inside layer, which is 3 3/4 by 5. And I'm going to take my Azure Afternoon, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a few butterflies to the inside of my card. I always like to just add something that kind of brings the whole thing together. So just a very simple butterflies. You can, I didn't on my original. You can see on my original, all I did was do the 3. On this one, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of add a couple up here as well, just to kind of give it some more movement. And I'm going to put those off to the side. And then I'm going to pull out, I'm going to need my Azure Afternoon again. Actually, I did forget one color. I used Secret Sea. So this is the inside of your card. So we can go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and start assembling my card while I'm waiting for that to dry. So once again, this is your standard card base. Set that over here, which is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 3/4 or 4 1/4. Man, it's early in the morning for me. My brain doesn't feel like it's functioning. So I have my standard card base. I'm going to take my card insert and go ahead and put it on the inside of my card. Now you can use your green glue or you can use your seal, whichever you prefer. I usually grab my seal for a lot of these just because they're simple. That finishes the inside of our card. Plenty of room to write whatever we want. We know we have a layer here. So our front of our card is a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of Secret C. And then we're layering our watercolor piece on top of that. So I can go ahead and do this. And because it's nice and dry, I'm not having any problems. But because it is a little, I don't want to say warped, but a little dimensional, shall we say, I put a little bit of extra adhesive on it, lining it up, gluing it down. Now before we do anything with that, I'm not going to attach it to the front yet because I'm going to go ahead and add my white gel pen to this. And basically all I did on my original is I just started adding whatever colors I felt, or white wherever I felt there needed to be some white. So I've just kind of started like this. Start your white gel pen a little bit first, and you just start coloring in the white dots wherever you think you need it. You don't need to be super careful. I mean, you want to stay somewhat in the lines, but the whole point is just kind of highlighting the areas of the butterfly. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. And so I just kind of continued and did this throughout my entire thing. I said, you can see I'm not spending tons of time trying to keep things 100%. I'm just going to kind of sit down and do this really quickly. Doesn't take a whole lot of time. You can do as much or as little as you want. Whatever you feel works for your butterflies. A lot of times you can just do this little bitty dot technique because the spaces are very, very small. And all you're doing is it's just really accenting these butterflies. You don't want to like take away too much from your pretty background that you created, but this does give you that little extra bit of oomph on your butterflies. You can see it's not taking very long to do this. You just kind of keep going. You can go around the dots if you want. It really doesn't matter if you end up covering some of the ink dots. Your gel pen will go right over the top of it. And I do try and keep it somewhat similar on each side of the butterfly just to make it so it looks like it's symmetrical and a butterfly. But you can definitely do however you want. Like I said, some of these, once your pen gets going, you can just like literally put almost dots and it works just fine. A little bitty swoosh of ink, and that's all it really takes to fill in those areas because they are very, very small. Now forgive me as I'm turning this upside down. It is much easier for me to just create and color as we're going. Okay, I did this one. I'm going to do this one and that one and maybe this one. This is a little bit bigger area. And I'm going to do these. like I said, it's just whatever you prefer. I'm not doing any rhyme or reason to these, just completing one butterfly at a time so that I can make sure that they are somewhat, they look like they're a cohesive butterfly, so to speak. And like it's just enough to give it some very bold accents. And so if you had, you know, imagine a dark purple or even some oranges and that on the background, like a sunset, it would just create such a huge impact of an image. This is a very subtle blue, a little bit lighter maybe than my original, but just the same colors and how it worked out. So now that this is ready, I can take my ribbon, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my ribbon here around the edge of the card, tie a little bitty knot. And I just thought the knot would be so much easier than a bow. So, and if you get twisted like that, you might need to twist it around again, which I did. I don't know what I did there. So, start over. Anything can happen when you're shooting a video. Just saying. So there's that. Pulling out my snips. I actually pulled out the ribbon ones this time. Little hint, if you don't already know, tie a little string or a piece of ribbon around one of your pairs of your detailed scissors, and that helps you keep one that is strictly for ribbon and not for paper. Okay. Now I'm just going to take this and put this right on that. And nope, I'm not completely out yet. It looked like I was out, but I'm not out. Very close. Forgot, since we put the inside, make sure you're putting it on right side up, which I am. That gets you your card, and now all we have left to do is to stamp our sentiment and adhere it with some dimensionals. So I'm going to pull my dimensionals out, grab my two circles. I do like to stamp my sentiment first before I put it on there, just because sometimes we need that second side of the paper to do this. And I'm using Secret C ink. You could use your Memento if you already have that out, just to add that. And then what I did, if you notice in my original, I took one of the other butterfly outlines and I just stamped it on there. And the fact that there are 3 of them doesn't make it that much harder. You have to still ink up your stamp set. And I chose to pretty much just ink up the bottom corner one. And then I did stamp off just to get that lighter image. And then stamped right over there. But I'm only, you notice I'm only getting that one butterfly on there. And that gives you this nice light look. And then I can put this circle, since it turned out right the first time. Yay me. Doesn't always happen. Flip it over, grab my dimensionals, just add, I think 2 dimensionals will be enough. You place that right over your tie, and you are done. So it's just a nice, quick, and easy way to make backgrounds, and use that butterfly and your white gel pen. Create a really, really pretty, subtle card. This would also be perfect if you wanted to do a sympathy card or just a thinking of you card. And you could do it in multiple different colors, but it just kind of really shows off both the stamp set and the white gel pen. Hope you have a great day.